senator from the future tells best friends Bill and Ted that one of their songs can save life as we know it and bring harmony to the universe. The movie brings back actors Alex Winter, Keanu Reeves, and the two writers from the original movies, Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson. It's really shocking to begin with that this is actually a movie that's being viewed. For years, this was in development hell. As a Bill and Ted fan, I've always wanted a third one, and it's finally here, and we actually get to see it. Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves are back as Bill and Ted, as well as the two writers of the original two movies, Chris Matheson and Ed Sullivan. Now, I know when there's a big gap between sequels like this, being almost 30 years, most of the time, especially for comedies, it doesn't pan out well. But this movie is actually better than I thought it would be. I was really worried about this movie being a sequel. I had fears like a Dumb and Dumber 2 was, how that movie was just awful, and compared to the first movie, which is great. The first two Bill and Ted movies hold a special place to me. I mean, they're just classic comedies that I grew up watching. So this movie coming into it, I was a little hesitant, but really excited for. And I'm glad to say that I was not really disappointed too much, honestly. The movie knows what it is. It's just a fun time travel, going to hell kind of movie. The jokes are good. They got me actually a few laughs, genuinely. I was pretty satisfied with it. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which is always great. You could nitpick this movie apart, but really, it's a Bill and Ted movie. I'm not going to do that. I know what I'm getting myself into when I watch these movies, and I'm honestly just happy that I enjoyed the film. The lead two, Bill and Ted, are great in this movie. I thought Alex Winter did a phenomenal job as Bill. I mean, the guy hasn't acted in years, and he really just stepped back into the role, which was really nice. Keanu Reeves, I found that he kind of was a little hesitant. He wasn't as loosey-goosey in this role as he usually is, and he just sort of felt stiff to me sometimes, but I still loved seeing them back together because, I mean, them together on the screen as Bill and Ted is just fun to watch. The actresses who played the daughters did really well, especially the actress who played Ted's daughter. They're both just doing impersonations of Bill and Ted, but she really does a good job. She got the whole head movement down and everything, and they're just great as the kids of Bill and Ted. The subplot with them is really cool. They're trying to basically put together a great band full of historical musicians to write the legendary song that Bill and Ted need to write to save the world. And honestly, this really worked for me. It was just fun to see like this little side quest that was basically the first movie redone, and it's not the focus of the main movie. However, although I like a lot of the historical figures like Louis Armstrong and Jimi Hendrix, their actors are really good in this movie, and they actually have a little bit of character. Just the sliver, minor bit of character that they have in the movie is good. But some of them just aren't great. Like, they go back in time for a drummer, and it's just this cave woman. She holds no significance. I felt like they kind of dropped the ball on that. I mean, the movie's only an hour and a half long, so I guess they didn't really want to focus too much on the daughter subplot. But I felt like they could have just got a little more historical figures that we as the audience would care about. There's also a side plot with the princesses who are traveling to different dimensions to see basically how their marriage with Bill and Ted will work out, because there's fear that it won't work out. But it's sort of just dropped after the first 15 minutes of the film. They pop up every now and then, but it holds very little significance, and by the end they just sort of work it out with one line. That's how the subplot works. It's kind of just thrown in there. It felt like it got cut. It felt like they made a 2-hour movie, or an hour and 45-minute movie, and they just cut their scenes completely from it, because even though they pop up every now and then, they're just sort of forgotten. They're useless in this movie, honestly. Another problem I have with the movie is some of the set design. When they go to the future, it's just green screen world. And not only is it green screen world, it's just barren emptiness. And it's really just a pet peeve of mine. I don't understand why movies do this, where they go to these futuristic lands where it's just a barren, empty land. They're just like in an empty shopping mall. It's just a structure with a big bridge. It just feels empty, and the screen is really bad in my opinion, like distractingly bad. I would honestly have rather have them just gone to a room and use that as a future. I miss the set design of the old movies. This is my one complaint about the whole movie, really. The set design isn't that great, especially with the futuristic world. They could have done something a lot better. In the old movies, they actually had a room and there's a feel to it. In here, it's just an overlit green screen world, and it's just really distracting. It just doesn't look good in my opinion. I would have much rather them just gone into an empty warehouse and decorated it for a day and filmed the scenes there, but what are you going to do? And yeah, it's Bill and Ted. You don't really take these movies too seriously. You're not looking at, Gone with the Wind with this movie. It's a dumb time travel movie with two dudes who just kind of are on an adventure and you're on it with them. And luckily, the jokes work for me as well as most people as far as I'm seeing. It's a funny movie. So, if it wasn't a funny movie, this obviously wouldn't have worked. It all rests on Bill and Ted, Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter. And I think they do a fine job with it, especially Alex Winter. He does really good. I love seeing all the different future versions of themselves when they go to the future to find the song. That's the whole point. They want to go find the song that unites time and space. And they travel to different dimensions or different futures selves of them. And it's really entertaining. And there's a scene where I'm not going to spoil it, but they travel into the future to see themselves to get the song, right? It doesn't always work out with them. But there's a particular version of themselves in the future. And it wasn't shown in the trailers, so I'm not going to spoil it. But the makeup has no business of being this good. It is really good. It's excellent, honestly. No pun intended. The makeup in this movie is really good in that scene, and it was really nice to see it. Death returns, but I felt like they kind of wasted him. But it's nice to have Death back. It was a welcome sight. I love the character. To see them reunite with Bill and Ted was just a fun scene. One thing I don't care for, and it's not a spoiler really, I'm not going to spoil a plot detail, but the movie just ends. I've never seen such an abrupt ending. Like, Lord of the Rings gets jokes about having multiple endings that take an hour and a half. This movie's just kind of like, we're done. And black screen credits. And it really felt like there should have been another 10 to 15 minutes or even 5-minute scene of, like, the aftermath of everything. This is the last time we'll see Bill and Ted on this big screen, presumably. And it really felt like they just sort of were brushed off into the corner, like, okay, we're done. That was kind of disappointing to me. But overall, I found the movie funny. It was a lot better than it could have been. It could have been a really bad movie. It could have been a Dumb and Dumber 2 sort of thing, where they're bringing back characters from 30 years ago, and they just waste it. I love Bill and Ted, how they're the same guys. That's how the movie should be. I don't want to see them dealing with, like, taxes and job hunting and whatever. It's Bill and Ted. They're the same two goofy guys. And it's nice to see that they're not, all depressed and working in the real life job. No, they're rock stars. They were rock stars in the past. Now, fame has faded from them. And they've been told that they have to write the greatest song ever written. And they haven't done it yet. And they're having a midlife crisis kind of deal. But it's not depressing. It's fun. It's a fun hour-and-a-half movie, especially this year where everything's just so depressing. It's good to get a movie like this, lighthearted, fun, and I'm glad they're back. We waited 30 years for this movie, so it's just finally good to see that Bill and Ted got their third movie that they deserved. I'm going to give Bill and Ted a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a lot better than it could have been. Again, not gone with the wind sort of deal. It's a movie that you know what you're getting, and it delivers. But I have some nitpicks with it that I mentioned. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.